it's Ian from RTO here. Welcome to the Sophomore Drome. 2 albums going, only one will survive. And this week we are going for a neo-prog battle. 2 British bands. One being Porcupine Tree and the other Arena. So, as usual, the band that comes their album out comes first, and in this case it was Porcupine Tree, band formed by Steve Wilson, multi-talented instrumentalist, singer, producer. And Porcupine Tree's second album was called Up the Downstair, and it was released in 1993. Now, playing on here with Steve, of course, is Colin Edwin on the bass. We've got Richard Barberi on electronics and Susan J. Barbari on the vocals. And Steve plays most of the other instruments. So, track 1 is a little introduction. It's about a minute, and it's called What Are You Listening To? Very weird. Yeah, a little bit annoying in places. It sort of builds up, I suppose. This is the mind of Steve Wilson. That goes into synthesizer. It's quite upbeat. It's got a great little rocky feel to it. And then you've got it's just got some nice tones on it. It's a really good track. Then you get a little 20-second blast called Moments That Burn Into Moments, which really goes into the next track. It's Always Never Now. I love this. It's a great vocal. I love the guitar solo on it. It's an excellent track. Then we get the title track, which is magnificent. It's a little poppy psychedelic thing. There's some lovely guitar work on it. It sounds absolutely brilliant under the headphones. Then we have a track called Not Beautiful Anymore. You know, we've gone from a 10-minute track to a 3.5-minute track. A very good track. It's ambient. It's a pretty cool track all the way through. Then we get Siren, which is lots of sound effects, and this goes into probably one of the nicest little bits on the album. It's very short. It's 2 minutes and 43, but it's the guitar and the combination of that acoustic guitar and the solo is amazing. It's just so ambient, that track. Then we have an epic called Burning Sky, proper sort of neo-prog sounds, keyboard works, fantastic, swirls, it's just super. And then we have this little thing, just as it says, Fade Away. This little chanting song that's with a little bit of dreamy, really solid track. Now, this album, I think, is very good. It's a little bit more coherent than the debut, but they did get better. But this is the start of, I think, you know, they took from what they did in the first album and then they really beefed this up a little bit more. So it's pretty good. So what did the critics think? Well, Melody Maker. So they embarked upon a mission impossible to create a truly 90s progressive rock soundscape utilising modern technology but avoiding prog pomposity. And they managed it in a room with room to spare. It's a strange and wonderful brew, taking Orb ambience, Metallica steel, and all points between. Ambient space dubs, technical cut-ups, and Gregorian charts add textures to the sound. Organ said, Upstairs, Downstairs is an LP that hides many surprises for the attentive listener, which is right. And CMJ said, Up the Downstairs retains the band's withery roots in Albion psychedelia, but expands the brief dropping of its GT self-consciousness in fusion commentary dance auroras. So let's have a look at the what the ratings were. All Music did give it a 4 out of 5. MMMDI gave it an 8 out of 10. Unfortunately, it didn't chart in the album charts. So let's have a look at the nuts and bolts up the downstairs. Song quality, absolutely spot on. Incredible mind of Steve Wilson. So I'm going to give that a 5 out of 5. Production, wonderful production. Steve Wilson is a fine producer. He takes other people's albums, remixes them, and makes them sound even better. So he's a fine producer. He's quite. He knows what he wants. So I'm going to give that a 5 out of 5. Reception. Some of the critics like it, but the fans didn't like it. It sank without sight, really. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to give that a 3 out of 5. Cover design. He's got this face in, smoke. Doesn't really say much, does it? No. So I'm going to have to give that a 3 out of 5. So 4 Up the Downstairs by Porcupine Tree guys is a total of 16 out of 20. Okay, our next contender is another neo-prog band founded in 1995, and they are called Arena. Formed by Clive Nolan, the keyboardist of Pendragon of course, and Mick Pointer, the original drummer of Marillion. They are sort of what Marillion could have done if they hadn't have moved on. And it's very IQ-y as well. You know, it's got that real classic sound. Lots of people have been in this band. But their second album was released in 1996. And it was the first to feature John Jowett on bass and vocalist Paul Wrightson. And it was Keith Moore's final album with the band as well. So playing on here, you've got Clive Nolan on the keyboards, Mick Pointer on the drums, Paul Wrightson vocals, Keith Moore guitars, and John Jowett bass. Okay, the first track is called Welcome to the Cage. I love this. I think Clive Nolan is a brilliant keyboardist. And as much as people say that Mick Pointer was just basic, he's a very good drummer, very tight. It's brilliant. Then we have Crying for Help 5. Now this is a continuation song from the Lion's Cage, Wake the Lions. It went through 3 or 4 parts. Some nice keyboards here from Clive. Empire of a Thousand Days is a mini epic. It's one of the best tracks on here. I like the chunky guitars from Keith Moore. I like there's some wonderful drumming from Mick on this, and there's so much atmosphere on this, especially with Clive's keyboards. Then we have Crying for Help 6, the continuing story of this track. Now this version has got some harpsichord on it. It's really good. Then we get Medusa, a great vocal from Paul. I love this. And the guitar work from Keith is excellent. Really Steve Rothery, I think. Then another version of Crying for Help, number 7. This is brilliant. This is more vocal from Paul. It's excellent. Fool's Gold. Now this has got some lovely harmony singing. It's got Hammond organ rich in it. It's got that 70s vibe, but with modern technology. The drumming from Mick is super. Then we get Crying for Help, the number 8. There's the finale, and this is more choral. And then we get Sirens, which is my favourite track by Arena. It's the best one they've ever done. It starts off with them great eerie starts. The vocals are wonderful. The highlights of this are the guitar solo from Keith. It's Very influenced, I think, by Dave Gilmour, and Clive's playing is brilliant. What was the last track? Okay, this is my favourite album by Arena, and Sirens is just amazing. It's a brilliant, brilliant album, and I really enjoy this. So what did the critics say? Well, there's not been much written about it, I'm afraid. It did earn a solid reputation in the neo-prog circles, which it did, and though it's often viewed as a transitional album between their debut and more acclaimed The Visitor, it's a heavier sound. Criticism, while generally regarded as some reviewers noted that the lack of cohesion, which I don't find. But Rate Your Music gave it a 3.646 out of 5. Music Waves gave it a 3.5. And again, it did not chart. Okay, let's have a look at the nuts and bolts of this one. Song quality. Some excellent songs on here. Wonderfully put together, their storytelling. But they haven't really mastered it, so I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. Production. The production on here is really good. It sounds great under the headphones, so I'm going to give that a 5 out of 5. Reception. It didn't get much acclaim outside the neo-prog fans, but we all like it, so I'm going to give that a 3 out of 5. Cover design. I really like this cover. I like the little ship in the middle of it. You got the marble effect, Arena, Pride. I think that could have been a bit brighter, but I do like the concept of this cover, so I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. So the grand total for Pride by Arena is 16. So again, we've got a draw this week. Now, there's certainly not too much between these two, to be quite honest. I like both albums, but when Up the Downstairs is not my favourite Porcupine Tree album, as well as Pride Arena is my favourite Arena album. So it was a case of trying to put that aside and look at it subjectively. But even looking at that, Porcupine Tree, Up the Downstairs is still a little bit disjointed in places. It's smooth, it works well, but as an all-round album, I think Pride really does flow lovely, with the interlude bits of course, Crying for Help is really good. So I'm going to go probably against the grain today, and I'm going to go for Pride by Arena. I just think it's a far better flowing album than Up the Downstairs. Although they've both got brilliances, this flows easier and it's an easier listening to put on like in the background. I listen to them both doing in the background, and I prefer to listen to Pride as a background album than Up the Downstairs. You've got to sit down and listen to that. So there we go. The poll is already up in the post. There'll be a poll on the live stream tonight. Okay, coming up next is a trip down memory lane, and we're going to look at today's chart back in 1978. So join me for that. Bye for now.